Germany in 2020 has been riding a wave of economic prosperity, a paradise of progress that began with the Marshall Plan, when the United States jump-started the German post-war economy. It was with American money that we Germans learned the power of international cooperation, and we adapted. Our industrialists tried to make Germany the strongest, but never had they tried to make the world stronger, that by economic growth alone, their friends and neighbors might be conquered. With paper, not lead, with deals, not treaties. And so since 1945, Germany had pursued this. It was America's will, sure, the globalized economy, free trade. But it couldn't be theirs forever. Contenders rise, innovators. American money and industry could not forever dominate the global trade, and we were correct. When the wall fell in 1990, we had in the West enjoyed prosperity lasting for 45 years. We became perhaps Europe's greatest economy, and with the East restored to us, we became the greatest by a long shot. The promise of Weimar was realized. The depression of the 1920s we failed to survive, we had now arisen from, and the fallout of it. People joke, in the 1920s we had a depression, we had a plague. We should be reviving all the traditions of the 20s, the Charleston. It's a popular joke online, but we know the truth. All good things come to an end. While we let our citizenry play soothsayer online, we politicians know their prophecy is true. In Wuhan, the outbreak has begun, and small numbers of infected have spread worldwide. Our efforts to keep it quiet have only proven to breed mistrust in our government. The truth always reveals itself, and among the world of the economists of Germany, we too see the brewing situation in our nation. The economy stagnates, and while this stagnation will not solidify for some time, Merkel has but precious time left. Economic reform would prove unpopular. Any chance of a CDU victory snuffed by a sudden reform, sudden cuts. So, for the sake of the party, at the expense of the nation, reform is held off. The anti-immigration, economically liberal Alternative for Deutschland proves an eternal thorn in Merkel's side, though a relatively small one. The AfD's popularity has gently grown as the Syrian migration crisis continues on, and yet even as the trickle slows down, the ever-lingering immigrant presence turns new supporters every day. Their conservative leanings eat into the CDU voter base. The BFV has tried again and again to dig up dirt on the AfD, but again and again it fails. Their female leader, Alice Weidel, a lesbian, would be Germany's first homosexual chancellor, if elected, and its most conservative despite that fact in nearly 50 years, styling herself after Margaret Thatcher. Her passion and her policies, along with simply who she happens to be, draws even her opposition to consider what she says. One can only scream about Syrians for so long before they get hoarse, but COVID brings them a fresh start. Merkel's response to COVID is one of the harshest in Europe, uniting many against the CDU. Despite wishing to avoid a crisis, they have found one. The AfD latches on to the issue of lockdowns, backing groups like Queerdenken 711, Clear Thinking in English, funding hundreds of protests across the nation, flying their banner, flying anti-Merkel, anti-lockdown slogans. The virus spreads, and it is handled well, but it does manage to kill the CDU's chance at leading a government in the coming elections. And another thing, the Saudi king. Saudi Arabia doesn't survive the death of their monarch, sudden as it was. The House of Saud was in the middle of a rather turbulent time. An internal power struggle means that the power vacuum opened the door to countless others. The internal intrigues of the Saudi court mean little to us. But the ensuing chaos, however, threw gas prices sky high, and a second refugee crisis has begun. The AFD was practically founded in the fallout of the Syrian migrant crisis, and at a pivotal moment, an even larger Arab nation began offloading millions into Europe once again, and in many ways, the Syrians were a slight more compatible with the West. The Ba'athist government of Syria at least expressed some tolerance for people other than Muslims. But the Saudis had a modern kingdom with archaic laws, and the people who came to Germany often had an equally archaic mindset compared to our liberal Western government. If the Syrians proved to be rowdy and incompatible with our society, the Sauds were downright subversive. Yet, Merkel believed it was our sacred duty to help the masses. By the hundreds of thousands, Saudi migrants entered, clashing with Syrians, Germans, Jews. Everywhere they went, the impact on crime was undeniable. Everywhere they went, they were unavoidable. Women quit traveling alone. It took Alice Weidel being assaulted on stage by a Saudi migrant during a speech for millions to realize the gravity of the situation. And the AFD blew up in the polls. COVID, 2 refugee crises, and a stagnating economy. As if it wasn't bad enough, a third migrant crisis began. Americans. With just a month away from elections, the United States collapsed. The German stock market crashed, and we were seemingly reliving the 1920s all at once, all over again. With the AFD promising to return migrants home to recover the economy, the CDU was forced to accept that their only way to salvage their party was to align themselves with the AFD's immigration policy. But it is too little, too late. With a rather large showing, the AFD pulled 34% of the vote, with the CDU polling 21%, one of their worst showings in decades. The AFD had effectively, due to the worst year in recent history, catapulted to being the largest party. Chancellor Weidel had a hell of a job ahead of her. The moderate support of the CDU would greatly aid in her ability to combat opposition and guide Germany through the crisis. Alice Weidel had to be the Hindenburg of her time, to guide the nation through crisis even while her opposition called her Hitler. Budget cuts, welfare cuts, deregulation, deportation. The left decries it, protests harshly, but the right and center have faith in what is deemed to be necessary, austerity. But indeed these reforms will be kept, and taxes lowered. It is not austerity alone. It is undoing the unjust system of wealth redistribution. Is the businessman not entitled to the sweat of his brow? Why should little businesses suffer under the suffocation of regulation? To recover the dead economy, liberalization is necessary. The FDP may claim to be the liberal force in Germany, but we have made them irrelevant, and our conservative values frankly make the CDU irrelevant as well. During our chancellery, we will work to erode at our coalition partner, to succeed, to garner popularity. Come 2025, we will rule alone. We must possess an iron fist. We must pull back from the concept of completely free trade and recognize that we cannot rely on foreign supply chains to keep ourselves secure. We will do this. We will deliver on our promises. The AFD has the mandate and will not waste it. The deportation of well over 4 million migrants is a grand undertaking, one which we will likely spend our entire term doing. But to ensure the SPD-based President Walter Steinmeier cannot stand in our way, we prop up our own man in the presidential elections, Max Ott, a renowned business magnate. With our majority support, Max Ott is elected, ousting the moderate Steinmeier. We control the chancellery, the presidency, but the BFV still listen to the old guard, the CDU and SPD. We only need one more thing to allow to reach our goal, to give Weidel total control. So long as the opposition parties maintain their influence, the BFV will always target us. The institution threatens democracy, all in an attempt to preserve it. There is no more efficient government than that of one-party rule. Germans tire of the constant collapse of coalitions, of the fall and rise of minor factions eating minute percentages of the nation's vote. Single-issue parties like the Greens toss everything aside if you promise an end to nuclear energy. Unprincipled, bureaucratic nightmare that the system has become. We have proven through our progress that the idea of an AfD solo majority may be the best possible way forward for our people, for the nation, and the economy. Our liberalization policies have seen taxes cut, welfare cut, and business regulation relaxed. The coal industry is renewed and bustling, the dying mining industry of the Rhine renewed. Our economy did not just recover, it boomed. In the fallout of the American Civil War, a lot of money moved to Europe. Investors were able to take advantage of AfD policies. Germany prospers, and foreign and domestic conglomerates are larger than ever. Government contracts for Rheinmetall have increased the size of the German arms industry considerably. Panzer forces again are the center of Bundeswehr doctrine. The increasingly autarkic behavior of Chancellor Weidel's government saw a program implemented to increase the size of the armed forces and enlarge the tank force considerably. Leopard 2s, previously in larger quantities beyond our borders, doubled and tripled in domestic service. Germany is strong, sovereign, and with the 2025 election, it is ours. The AfD won 54% of the vote. The CDU was abandoned and Germany has slipped into the Japanese model, where in Japan, the LDP is the majority party, while all opposition is split between many minor parties. Now Germany will follow the same method. Except, we have no intention of allowing our opposition real power. With majority control, we use the Russian invasion of Central Asia and the Caucasus to declare a national emergency, seizing executive authority to target parties and banning the SPD, FDP, and others. While we used Russian mobilization to our advantage, Chancellor Weidel knows to maintain her grip on power, she must win the upcoming conflict. The true challenge for the AfD awaits. The iron will of Germany will be tested. The Russians have invaded Ukraine. They have had years of preparation. Many of our allies in Europe were unprepared. We spent so long debating whether they intended to invade that we weren't ready for when they did. Despite this, Germany was mostly prepared. The last batch of Leopards was being built when the war began. Only half of the Bundeswehr's combat force could be committed at the beginning of the war, the other half still being trained on the new 2A7. NATO was at perhaps its weakest. Without America and with our doctrine of autarky, we in France both broke from the integrated command, causing huge disarray in the alliance. Our allies distrusted one another. The AfD's concentration of power over Germany made many, even within Germany, angry. The full deployment of our forces slowed the advance of Medvedev, but their advance was inevitable. After having smashed NATO forces in the Balkans and Baltic, it was a desperate defense of Warsaw and Budapest, lasting a few hard months, but ultimately brought NATO to its knees and saw several armored formations of the Bundeswehr cut off and massacred in a Warsaw suburb. The war was lost, despite our best efforts. We have a good showing, but we lost many men and expensive equipment for no good reason.
police presence was already heavy outside the venue in Stuttgart as demonstrators gathered.
Anti-AfD demonstrations reached a peak at home, with the Bundestag under active siege from demonstrators. This war was supposed to consolidate Weidel's control, but with her loss and subsequent resignation, President Ott called for snap elections. Mono-party rule was over as soon as it began. With a wild surprise, the pro-federalist Volt Europa, funded in part by liberal democracy activists and the World Economic Forum, won a majority. They campaigned that our loss came from disunity, that the loss of Europe in the war was due to nationalist divisions, and it resonated. The many millions of former AfD voters who were seduced by hatred came to understand how nationalist and exclusionary policy led to a loss that Germany, no nation, could have prevented alone. With Volt's election, France too elected Volt into power, but France, like Spain, fell into turmoil. In Britain, the king seized his royal prerogative, disbanding Parliament to reassemble a new government. But a Volt-backed uprising followed by a Scottish revolt meant it was time for us to act. Formally voting to federalize the European Union, nations like the Netherlands and Luxembourg joined us immediately. Forces were sent to England to assist the Volt government in toppling the king, and successfully having done so, Brexit was undone. The next step was to stabilize matters in France. The situation was dire, and Belgian restorationists seized the opportunity to try to claim the throne of France. Elizabeth I made it into Paris before our forces intervened, marching north and destroying the upstart kingdom before it could further damage France. Cutting down the remaining revolters was easy enough. Italy, surprisingly, maintained its stability, but Spain was not so lucky, falling to an ultranationalist government. In time, we could handle this. First, it was up to the European Commission to handle the economic crisis. Hyperinflation struck over 300%. The economy and people were paralyzed. On the recommendation of businessman Klaus Schwab, the European Commission saw the aptly named Great Reset proposed by the World Economic Forum as the way forward. Some criticized the choice, stating such a reform gave too much power to corporations, but we trust Mr. Schwab. The European Commission can trust its business advisors. Or can it? A business prince of the Nazi war machine, born in 1938, his family moved to Germany during World War II to take control of Escher Weiss AG, a company who was formerly a textiles company but quickly rebranded to flamethrowers and flamethrower accessories during the war. Klaus got some of his education in Zurich, while a lot of it came from German schools. Graduating in 1957 from a school in Ravensburg, he then acquired a mechanical engineering doctorate in 1961 from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology. He continued schooling, acquiring another doctorate in economics from the University of Freiburg, before moving to America and getting a master's at Harvard in public administration, meeting and being mentored there by the infamous Henry Kissinger. From 1972 to 2003, he was a business professor at the University of Geneva, and a year prior to that, in 1971, he founded the European Management Forum, later the World Economic Forum, meeting annually or more often in Davos, Switzerland. Schwab is truly an interesting and qualified individual. You could imagine his public administration degree meant he wanted to get into politics, but this never materialized. Until today. In the last couple of decades, Klaus had realized that capitalism, in its current form, was reaching an end, that technological progress was accelerating. Robotics, gene editing. In a 2016 book, he evangelized the upcoming Fourth Industrial Revolution. It is a reality to him that stakeholder capitalism is the future for European and perhaps world economics, and that robotics and gene editing may be revolutionary for humanity. According to some political analysts, the Fourth Industrial Revolution screams transhumanism as the underpinning ideology, to go beyond what humanity is, to redefine it. To bind biology to technology is an insane and yet very technologically obtainable thing in the modern day. The World Economic Forum has grown from small group to a group that has in recent decades hosted nearly every single world leader, over 3,000 attending members yearly from 125 nations, with 350 being heads of state or heads of government. The World Economic Forum isn't just about economics, it is a global body that meets yearly to discuss world issues. It is on the floor of the WEF that Agenda 2030 was proposed and implemented by the United Nations. Agenda 2030 has many tenets, but the idea of a circular economy, a new green future, it's all things proposed by Schwab and implemented globally. The plan for a great reset made it into the rhetoric of many governments, but now Schwab is in the European Union's government, and he and his business-oriented friends are poised to overthrow the European Commission, establishing corporate rule. What is a stakeholder economy? What is Schwab's new government? In many ways, the Great Reset establishes this and goes beyond. To put it bluntly, the stakeholder economy would transform governance, not just the economy, as part of the WEF's proposed plans. The government would serve as just one stakeholder, never the final arbiter in any decision. This means under the Great Reset, elected government is only one part of the decision-making apparatus, one where corporations now have a deciding say in what exactly the nation does. Stakeholder economics at a basic glance seems nice. It's taking companies and changing them from creating value for themselves to creating value for the entire supply chain, but in doing so it gives corporations a greater hold on society. Backers of this plan and the implementation of stakeholder economics include many reputable companies, like Shell, Saudi Aramco, British Petroleum, Nestle, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, Google, essentially most of the world's largest and often most disliked companies. Stakeholder economics transforms governance into a model where corporations hold the largest power. The corporations of old, previously a tool of national influence, are becoming what many feared, an influence of their own, controlling governments, not the other way around. The new government of Schwab, having overthrown the European Commission, is the establishment of this. While local European elections continue and representatives take office, the government of Europe has only as much say as Schwab and the corporations allow them. The economy is reformed, and truly now, Agenda 2030 is taking shape. Rather than a lower, middle, and upper class, Agenda 2030 wants a bottom line of human condition and an upper class. To eliminate poverty, but also to lower consumption overall. Population is to be controlled. Workers are to become one small stakeholder in a broader chain of stakeholders. It sounds good on paper, it really does. Eliminating poverty, want, eliminating hunger, but it all requires some very heavy-handed oversight. Peace. It is one pursuit of Agenda 2030, but it is peace through sustainable development. There can be no peace without sustainable development, and no sustainable development without peace. Nanotechnology has widened our ability as a species to cure illnesses, especially of the mind. Microchips implanted into the head can act as mood suppressants. Under Schwab's rule, the rapid progress of society is coincided by technological innovation and social control. Media is influenced as Schwab and the corporations decide, and social control is done via technology. Microchips are implanted, often without knowledge of those who receive them. Continent-wide, people lose their anger and sadness. They feel happy all the time. They smile. But even the smile seems to be a baseline. It feels uniform. People read articles about it, about new microchips acting as mood suppressants, but few remember receiving them, and many who read the article can't help but feel maybe it's a step too far, but many of them simply smile through the uncomfortable feeling, unknowing. You will own nothing and be happy. Everything you want, you'll rent. It's something that was said in WEF-funded media. Many downplayed it, but what is the truth? Increasingly, urban centers are redesigned. National boundaries are torn down, and how are they? They are torn down through the remolding of European society, of cities. National monuments and old brick cafes replaced by efficient complexes. Increasingly, people rent apartments rather than own property. More and more, they exit the countryside. Cities are made more compact, efficient. They become centers of profit, and those within, the worker bees of the hive, ensuring all flows properly. Discontent among millions of Europeans is suppressed quietly. The right wing despise the erasure of national identity, the continued entry of immigrants, and the left despise corporate influence. But both are squashed beneath the heel. Families see their friends and relatives, previously troubled, angry, become dull, happy. They know what has happened, but they cannot speak about it. Tens of millions who complain are never seen complaining again. The soldiers and police seem to carry out their tasks without any disobedience, any flinching. Has microchip technology truly progressed so far? We have control over our urges, our guilt, our emotion. We control what is human and what is not. We eliminate neurological illness, depression, disorder. How far have we gone? Not far enough. Human nature must be broken. Greed must be destroyed. The corporations know best for the people. And if the people cannot accept the incoming future, we will help them to be happy. It's the least we can do. The initial reforms and social control programs have worked well. We must now work to apply this beyond Germany and Britain. France willingly joined the European Union following their victory. Italy, Scandinavia, and much of the Balkans, besides Bosnia, all agreed as well. The Serbian military government, however, joined the CSTO, as did Turkey and Iran. Many nations seem to be fighting the globalist doctrine of Schwab's Europe, but this nationalist resistance is doomed to fail, as we learned in the First War. Invading Iberia was the first test of our rebuilt and expanded European army. The armed forces, now equipped with the latest tech, including our coveted nanochips, found great success. Marching across the Pyrenees and into Lisbon in just a month, our armor performed great, and our soldiers reported far lower rates of suicide and post-combat guilt, even higher accuracy. It seems our emotional inhibitor chips are very effective. This is a grand success. Technology will improve our lives, the lives of our citizens, our soldiers. The future is bright. The stresses of everyday life are suppressed, made pleasurable even. The life of a laborer, of a soldier, of a miner, made tolerable through technology. Industry, army, service, government, corporate, all working in tandem. A society subdued, a people maximized, mankind redefined, and national barriers broken. There is no French, no Spanish, no English. There is European. And Europeans are happy. Aren't you happy? I'm happy. Europe is happy. A new world order is within reach, but standing in our way is President Medvedev, the Russian Federation. His goal is a Europe of nations, but we are Europe, a nation, one. Russia would divide Europe into as many small, controllable pieces as possible. Russia, too, is owned by its corporations, but they and their people are enslaved by the autocracy of the Putinist system. Medvedev guides the companies with threat of nationalization. It is tyrannical. Their people suffer, impoverished, unhappy. Their inefficiency will be their end. Reports from within our nation have unfortunately made it to the East. The CSTO try to propagandize our successes. They call our mood suppressant chips slavery. They say we're making our people zombies. Can you believe that? Many in Poland, in Bulgaria, nations who were our former friends, steel their resolve. They don't want to join our prospering society, but they don't have a choice anymore. To free the world and to free their people, the bear must die. The bear and all its nationalist delusions with it. Europe will be the springboard by which the whole world is enlightened. Our initial offensives aren't as effective as we had hoped. Mass pushes into Poland are countered with staunch Balkan resistance, and we're stopped short of Warsaw. Our Air Force, the newly created Sky Spear fighter, integrates the latest technology. Even as we're outnumbered 3-1 in the air, we control the skies. Our soldiers fight with absolute loyalty, with efficiency. Our software makes those in Russian uniform appear monstrous, makes it easier for our men to sleep at night. After the stalling of our first offensive, the CSTO make a daring series of landings, first in Greece, failing, then along the Pomeranian coast, getting quite deep into our territory. But they are cut in half, divided, and cut down, the landings serving only to thin their numbers. After over 2 million dead combined from both sides, our offensive efforts begin to bear fruit. Breaking into the Baltic and into Hungary, soon the CSTO will break. Their line disintegrating, their Eurasian alliance of states cast down, the Europe of nations destroyed. Europe, a nation, ascending to Moscow. We have won. Our forces marched deep into Russia, and their nation fell into chaos, into pieces. We control the continent without a doubt. Schwab has one more declaration to make before his planned retirement. He is an old man, 94 years old in 2032, but he has lived long and shows little sign of degradation. He proclaims the world government, a monumental step forward for humanity. Consolidating Europe is but the first step in unifying the planet. Our efforts to break down national boundaries and promote a monoculture have been wildly successful, and yet every success has eventual drawbacks. Despite delivering victory, delivering prosperity, people are unsatisfied still. We've tamed so many with our nanochips, but even those with nanochips seem to have a few quirks. Just a month into our grand declaration, civil malfeasance spreads continent-wide. Talk of a mass catharsis spreads. A great release of human primal emotion, anger, rage, hatred. Hatred against the system, against wealth inequality, against the corporate rule of what will someday be the entire world. Tens of millions across the nation cannot allow it to happen. These people are ungrateful, hateful. They have to bend. They must bend. The world order will be preserved. Progress cannot be halted now. We have 2 million soldiers who cannot help but be loyal, and they see the protesters as a horde of monsters. Our valiant knights will go forth for our order. They will kill until it is done, and when they are, none will be left but those who have felt our loving embrace.
Look at him! Look, there's no life in his fucking eyes! There's nothing in your fucking eyes! Are you even human? Fucking look at me! Look at me! I've cut everything that makes you human out of you! Everything! Look around you! Look what they've done to you! Look what they've done! They've destroyed everything that makes us individuals. Everything! You can't let it happen. You can't let it stay like this. You have to fight back. You have to fight back. We've sat around and watched it happen. We watched it. They called it progress. They called it progress. They unveiled it like it was the next best thing. And look what it's done. They've got us all in their hands, in the palm of them. All of us. Those soldiers aren't even ours anymore. Those soldiers are fucking robots. There's nothing left. And they're gonna chip me next. They're gonna chip me and they'll chip you. They're going to chip everyone. It's every man for himself.
This is a public safety announcement. There is a curfew in effect from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Please return to your domiciles. Do not be caught in the street by public security. Thank you for your cooperation. 14 million dead laying in streets across the continent, and among them, only 4,000 are soldiers of the Union. Our methods are brutal but effective. Our population is happy. The nanochips cover up the dead. Our media covers up what happened. The world abroad beyond our borders will know nothing, and they will be happy. We did not lose 14 million people. We excised a tumor. We didn't lose 4,000 men. They have retired, and they serve a greater purpose now in our labs. What happened? Where are your neighbors? Did you ever have neighbors? Of course you did. Here they are. They were always your neighbors. You've known them forever. Rest your mind. Smile. You're happy. Rent a movie later on. Your child would like that. Just make sure you paid your TV subscription. You'll arrive at work on time. You won't remember how you got there, but you'll know you are, and you'll start working. Before you know it, you'll be home, surrounded by all the comforts you can want. You won't own a home or a car, but you'll love your life. You can't travel or escape, but you'll love your life. Who wouldn't? Office life is natural. Humans are social creatures. What's more social than an assembly line working together to assemble a product? Your job is your life. Your life is your job. Your fun is at home. You don't need to worry anymore. It's okay. Close your eyes. Tomorrow is a new day. Nothing happened at Königstrasse. The world government will provide you everything you need. You will live long. You will be happy. Won't you? This is a public safety announcement. There is a curfew in effect from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Please return to your domiciles. Do not be caught in the street by public security. Thank you for your cooperation.